Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football 2023 transfer portal winners. These are teams that have improved themselves. There are still a number of transfers that are going to be happening after the season, but of course, with the weird college football calendar, we did have the portal already open up, and were a ton of players that entered, and there are already teams that have double-digit commits into the portal. And we all know the biggest winner, if you've been following the portal, it has to be Ole Miss. Now, taking a look at Ole Miss, they have 12 total commits. They've got a very nice average of 91, and you can see the total number of 4 and 5 stars combined, 6. So 6 4/5-star players. There's only one 5-star player currently in the portal, according to 247 Sports. If you go to On3 or maybe one of the other sites, it's going to be different a little bit because they all have different rankings, but you can see they've completely remade their defensive line. The only 5-star in the portal they got, Walter Nolan. He's a former number 2 overall player from 2 years ago. He was part of that crazy Texas A&M 2022 haul. They also got 2 very solid edge rushers who have a rating of 94, as well as a solid receiver, also a defensive back, all of those players coming from SEC teams. So Ole Miss's top 5 transfer portal commits come from SEC teams. Really interesting. And I think what Ole Miss is doing, they're utilizing NIL. They're understanding this is Jackson Dart's big year next year. He's coming back. He's got experience with Lane Kiffin. They're going to have a good offense. They're treating next year as college football playoff or bust. The playoff is expanding. Yes, the SEC will only get tougher with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas, but you can see what Ole Miss is doing. Next year, they're really going for it. They're trying to win a national championship, and definitely on the defensive line, they've improved their team significantly, also getting a very solid receiver as well as a good cornerback. They've got to be the big winner in terms of the portal. Another winner, you do have to say it is Colorado. Now, Colorado got a ton of players from the portal, 18 to be exact. They got 6 4-stars at least at this point. It's not over. We'll have to see. They did get some solid 4-stars you can see from Pittsburgh, LSU, Vanderbilt, Cincinnati, as well as Houston. I don't exactly know what Deion Sanders and Colorado are doing. I guess I'll give my speculation. I think Deion Sanders is going to leave Colorado after next year. It just seems like at this point, the way he's roster building through the portal with only 6 recruits says that he's going to be leaving this team after next year. We understand the portal can be utilized by some of these lower schools, but it just doesn't make sense to only sign 6 recruits if you plan on staying. Maybe he's going to utilize the portal every season. I don't think it's sustainable at all. You need to at least be signing every single year 17 recruits minimum. I would say 20 to 21 minimum, but Colorado doing something different, and technically they are a winner of the transfer portal just based on overall, total commits, getting 18 guys that do have experience at other college schools. There's really no superstars on this list. I will say they did get a pretty good defensive tackle from Pittsburgh that I thought was going to go to Miami, but he ended up going to Colorado. So they have to be treated as a winner, but I am confused on what Colorado is going to do. And right now, I would say for Colorado next year, maybe they are going to the Big 12. It should get easier for them. Maybe a 7-5, 8-4 type season for them coming off the 4-8 year. This year we will see. The next winner, it is Kentucky. Now, believe it or not, Kentucky has some very quality transfer portal players. They got a linebacker from Georgia who was a previously highly ranked recruit, and he has multiple years of eligibility left. Currently, one of the best players they got. Also, another 5-star QB. Their 2 top transfers that they got came from Georgia. Brock Vandagriff, who played at Georgia barely. He was there for 3 years, former 5-star QB. They also got a solid receiver from Texas A&M, a running back from Ohio State. So Kentucky being in the SEC, trying to improve, it's very tough, very hard competition level, especially the way they recruit, but they did have a very nice early transfer portal season. The next big winner, it has to be Michigan State. Now, Michigan State, they really only got Aiden Childs. They also got a tight end who's a 4-star, which is solid, from Oregon State as well, but getting Jonathan Smith, bringing along the backup Aiden Childs. Childs is ranked, at least according to 247, the number 1 transfer portal QB. Now, I don't agree with that. I think he's probably 5 or 6 right now. They do factor in future eligibility, like how many years you have left. He was the backup to DJ Uiagalelei, but he did play a decent amount, and he put up really good stats in his limited time. Also was a solid 4-star recruit out of high school. So there are some tools that Michigan State has to work with. They got very lucky with that Mel Tucker situation, being able to fire him with clause. That was a fully guaranteed death contract of 10 years that would have completely sunk their program unless they did what Texas A&M did and paid a crazy buyout. I don't think Michigan State could afford it, but they're able to get out of the Mel Tucker deal. They bring on a young emerging coach from Oregon State, and also he brings his young freshman quarterback. So listen, if you get a future starting quarterback, you've got to be on this list of biggest winners. So Michigan State, we will see how improved they are next year, although they did lose a pretty good defensive tackle in the portal. Getting a future starting quarterback for the next 3 years, they are a winner. The next big winner, it is Texas. Now, Texas, they've only gotten about 3 total commits, but all 3 of them are very quality players, including Trey Moore, an edge rusher from UTSA. I know Trey Moore was also interested in Ohio State, but the Buckeyes didn't want him to visit. I'm guessing they're going to have some returning players. Trey Moore is a really good disruptor, edge rusher, sack artist, and he's going to be on Texas next year. The Longhorns possibly returning Quinn Ewers. It'll be interesting. What if Quinn Ewers plays really well in the playoff, possibly catches lightning in the bottle? Will he go to the draft? Then they'll have Arch Manning. Either way, it is a good situation for Texas. They also got a very solid safety from Clemson that was mocked to go in the first round of drafts this past year, this upcoming year. Obviously, he didn't have a great season at Clemson, but that's still a quality depth piece, and then also a solid receiver from Houston. So Texas, not a huge transfer portal haul, but very quality players, and they're also not losing very many. The only big-time transfer they're losing is Malik Murphy, and I disagree with that ranking where they have him ranked 93. You know, he's an interesting quarterback with a big arm, but he reminds me a little bit of Joe Milton. He is going to Duke. I mean, that's a good get for Duke. Maybe I should have Duke on this list, honestly, getting Malik Murphy. But either way, the final big winner so far of the transfer portal season, it is Oregon. Now, Oregon did something very unique in terms of the portal. They got potentially their next 2 starting quarterbacks. Dillon Gabriel, who I think is the best QB in the portal. He will have 1 year of eligibility remaining. He will undoubtedly start next year for Oregon. They've got huge games. They're joining the Big Ten. They host Ohio State. And then they also have Dante Moore, the former 5-star. He's a freshman right now. He's going to be a sophomore next year. Originally went to UCLA. Well, I think he originally committed to Oregon, flipped to UCLA in one of those NIL deals. Former top 5 overall player, crazy arm talent. Didn't have a good year at UCLA, but a lot of that has to do with him being a true freshman. He's going to sit behind Dillon Gabriel and then possibly take over. It is crazy what Oregon is doing, and you have to wonder, Dante Moore, you'd think he would want to start right away, but he's going to Oregon, who already has a transfer portal QB. So it's just weird. I've never seen a team take 2 high-level transfer portal QBs. They're obviously investing a lot in terms of the portal, and that's basically their haul. I mean, anytime you get potentially 2 starting quarterbacks over the next 3 seasons, it is a crazy win, and especially Dillon Gabriel. He's very undervalued, a really good player. I would say Oregon, they've got to be a top 3 or top 4 team in terms of biggest winners so far in the portal. But number 1, I would say Ole Miss. I would also have Texas up there. Also, you could say Colorado, but I don't know. It seems like Colorado just signed a lot of quantity, maybe not a ton of quality. Either way, they definitely have a weird strategy when it comes to recruiting. Their class only being 6 or 7, the portal class being huge. There is more experience, but a lot of these guys enter the portal for a reason. They're not getting playing time. They're 2nd or 3rd string. We will see what happens in terms of that, but I do think Ole Miss right now, due to the defensive additions, they are the big winner. We will see what happens after the bowl season when it comes to the portal. I'm sure Alabama's going to be more active. I mean, Alabama did get a very solid defensive lineman from Texas A&M, LT Overton, but they really don't have a big class, so we will see. Same thing with, Ohio State should be more active after their bowl game and what have you, but that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.